Hi, I wanted to talk about today XR technology and some of the drawbacks of its development in the modern day. So, to get started here, XR technology, which is short for extended reality technology, is a blanket term for three different kinds of technology, those being virtual reality, augmented reality, and mixed reality. And what these three different kind of technologies do is actually bridge the gap between the real and virtual world. And so what virtual reality is it takes a user from the real world and puts them, in a sense of speaking, into a virtual world, a completely virtual, immersive experience. Augmented reality takes virtual objects and puts them in the real world. So, for example, you could see this in interior design. You could see them take a painting in the headset and put it on a wall to see how it'll look there. And mixed reality is kind of a combination of these two, where you have virtual objects interacting with real world environments. For example, you could see this in pilot training technology. You could see a virtual plane flying in real skies with real conditions. So, as exciting as these technologies are, there needs to be a serious talk about the safety of these technologies, because what we may be seeing, like with many technology developments in the modern day, is that the safety is kind of a second thought in the development and is being left behind with the advancement of the technology. So I want to talk about the safety, and I want to namely talk about it in the field of recreational use in gaming from a psychological and a physical and a digital perspective. So XR technology has proven to have some great psychological challenges with the immersion it's offered. To talk specifically, virtual reality, in this part, induces a sense of presence or a subjective feeling that is felt by the immersed user that they are in the place of the glasses while physically being in the real world, of course. So, a study across 155 people found that those who are more prone to escapism, or the tendency to want to get away from the real world problems by escaping them, in a sense of speaking, are more likely to adopt VR glasses as they are more perceived as useful to them than they are to other people. And what that means is that those who want to escape will escape, and with a desire to get away from real world problems, XR technology is going to offer just that the more it becomes widely available on the market. In another small study conducted in China, researchers found VR gaming to be 44% more addictive to PC gaming, as VR gaming excited users 20% more than PC gaming did. When asked this, when the leader of the study was asked about real-world alienation in favor of escaping to the more pleasant virtual life, Dr. Rui Chen of the Communications University of China had to say, "From the current objective data, VR has a stronger addiction trend versus traditional media, and this is only under the condition of a single user scenario. If multiple user social factors are introduced in this immersive medium, the addiction tendency is expected to be even higher." So, with a plethora of multiplayer games already available on the market, with games like VR Chat, Star Wars Squadrons, and Rec Room, the addiction tendency is already likely to be higher than when this study was published only about a year and a half ago, and there are plenty more multiplayer games where you're socially interacting with other people in these virtual games. Dr. Chen goes on to talk about the difficulty of self-regulation, where he says it's harder for users to pull themselves away, and a more effective strategy of regulating this addiction is the headset and the actual thing, the software, telling the user to get off or locking them out completely from even using it. So, VR addiction is a recognized addiction clinically that falls under the behavioral addiction umbrella. And like most behavioral addictions, the user's health is actually taking a toll from them using it, and because of the experiences that blur the line of reality and fiction, presence in VR games is linked to real health issues, according to addiction professional M. Romano, who says depression, anxiety, attention deficit disorder, and in many cases autism spectrum traits and features obesity, sleep problems, and increased aggression are all attributed to presence. Now, all of this is still not to mention motion sickness symptoms, including nausea, dizziness, and disorientation, as well as physical damage from having an accident while immersed in the game. Now, I actually have a personal experience with this sort of thing. Last year, my roommate got a PlayStation VR headset and was playing games in our room. He would frequently do this, and what would happen while he was playing the games is he would play a game called Beat Saber. And what Beat Saber is you're sliding lightsabers against oncoming cubes to the beat of a song that's playing. So he's moving his hands in a fast jerking motions to slice these cubes, and he wouldn't have the spatial awareness because his eyes are in the game and his ears are being flooded by the music. He would be smacking the tables and smacking the door in our room consistently, and he had to take breaks sometimes because of this. Now, thankfully, he would never get hurt seriously, but imagine if there was a toddler running by, or imagine if somebody who wasn't aware of their surroundings had been near him while he was playing this game. He could have smacked them and they could have been seriously hurt by this, especially if they were a child. So, to take a step away from the actual health on the user perspective, let's talk about the virtual safety of users. XR technology devices are Internet of Things devices, or IoT devices, and like other Internet of Things devices, they are notorious for having poor cybersecurity, since they're designed to have just enough software and hardware to run what they need to run, and that's it. So with AR technology, the entire time that it's in use, it's collecting environmental data. And of course it has to, because it has to put these digital objects in there, or else it wouldn't be the technology that it is. So it's sending all this data that it's collecting to a third-party host, and this host, the data between you, home network, and them can be intercepted by hackers, and that can create a window for them to crawl into your home network. And then, of course, there's plenty of malicious things they can do. They can access your other devices. They can use the AR's technology to see inside your house and see you. And these devices lack authentication. They don't have passwords. They have almost none at all. Them and the applications on them were found to have very, very little in way of authentication, because it's hard to implement and it's hard to make it happen. So with this technology, XR technology, having safety risks mentally, physically, and virtually on people, it needs some serious oversight into its development, and it needs to be slowed down a little bit so that we can actually have time to think about the implications that some of the things we're doing here are going to have, especially on the future generation. We need to have some talks about what sort of implications this could have on them, as we've already seen the implications that normal gaming has on these people. And not to mention, or to call back to Dr. Chen's study, they were found to be 44% more addictive. So if gaming is already at a very high addiction rate behaviorally, imagine a 44% larger addiction.